A witch thought she was safe. When she handed over your secrets, she believed his family would be her armor, her refuge from the chaos she feared. But she didn't understand. Your name isn't just a label, it's a crown, a force that bends the world to its will. You were chosen not by chance, but by the weight of what your name carries, a legacy that commands respect, even in silence. As the truth unravels, the illusion of protection she clung to crumbles. His family may have power, but your name holds more, and those who underestimate it will soon learn. The chosen ones are not so easily undone. She owed them everything. His family had been her shield, her safety net. When she messed up, they cleaned up after her. When she made bad decisions, they found ways to smooth things over. She was reckless, but she was never afraid, because she knew they had her back. So when the karmic feminine, his own blood, came to her with a plan, she didn't hesitate. She saw it as another favor, another debt repaid. She never stopped to think about the weight of what she was about to do. She never considered the consequences. She crossed the line. Illegally accessing your records, she stepped into territory she had no business entering. She typed in your name, scrolled through your information, and gathered everything she could. Personal, confidential, private. She thought it was nothing, just data, just numbers and words on a screen. Then she handed it over. She didn't ask why they wanted it. She didn't care. As far as she was concerned, this was her duty. His family had given her so much. It was time to give something back. And she thought she was untouchable. After all, this wasn't her first time bending the rules. There had been mistakes before, moments where she should have faced real consequences, but she never did. His family always pulled the right strings, whispered into the right ears, and made problems disappear. Why would this time be any different? She didn't realize she had just stepped into something much bigger than her. Because your name holds more weight. She thought power came from connections, from influence, from knowing the right people, but she didn't understand the force behind your name, the spiritual weight it carries, the protection that goes beyond money, beyond favors, beyond human interference. She thought this was just another favor, just another secret buried under privilege and power. But this was different, because this time she committed a crime with real consequences, a crime that cannot be undone. The moment she leaked that information, her fate was sealed. Her blind loyalty led her straight into destruction. She thought she was securing her place, solidifying her ties to his family. She thought they would see her as valuable, as trustworthy, as someone who would do whatever it takes. Instead, she signed her own downfall, because when you move against a chosen one, there is no escape, no mercy, no second chances. And now her name is on the list, not for protection, for prosecution. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a felony. She didn't just whisper secrets in the dark. She didn't just pass along gossip. She committed a crime, a serious, traceable, punishable crime. And the worst part, she thought she was careful. She thought she was untouchable, hidden beneath the protection of her boyfriend's family. They had pulled strings for her before, covered for her past mistakes. In her mind, this was just another favor, another quiet transaction that would disappear into the shadows. But this wasn't like before. This time, she crossed a legal line. She accessed information that was never meant for her eyes, confidential, protected by law, a place where no outsider had the right to go. Yet she went there anyway. She used her access, her position, her clearance to pull records she had no business looking at, and then, without hesitation, she handed them over to someone who wanted to use them against you. She thought it was harmless, just data, just information, just another piece in their scheme. But what she failed to understand was that every move in the digital world is trackable. Every login has a timestamp. Every document access leaves a footprint. Every unauthorized click is recorded. All of it is leading straight back to her. The moment she breached those records, she activated something far bigger than she ever imagined. The system caught it. The red flags went up. The authorities were notified. They are watching, digging, investigating. She believed her family's influence would bury this, that they would make it disappear like they had done before. But this is federal law. Data breaches don't get swept under the rug. The legal system doesn't care about connections. It cares about evidence. And the evidence is airtight. She thought she was working in the dark, but in reality, she left a glowing trail behind her. A trail so obvious, so incriminating, that there is no talking her way out of it. No excuses, no loopholes, no escape. The deeper they dig, the worse it gets. Because this wasn't a one-time slip-up. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate, premeditated, criminal. The web is unraveling around her. She tried to harm you, but all she did was destroy herself. Because when you go against a chosen one, divine justice steps in. And divine justice does not show mercy. She thought she was invisible, a shadow behind a powerful family, a pawn moving under the protection of people who had always pulled strings for her. She never considered that the web she helped spin could entangle her too. But now, it's coming, undone. This wasn't just her mistake. She was a piece in something much bigger, something darker. The karmic feminine, the real puppet master, had been orchestrating this from the start. She whispered in ears, planted seeds of doubt, and turned people against you with careful precision. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew exactly who to use. This woman had been protected before. She had slipped through cracks, avoided consequences, and relied on the family's influence to keep her record clean. She was comfortable, overconfident. She believed nothing could touch her. So when the karmic feminine came to her, feeding her lies about you, she didn't hesitate. She didn't question it. She just obeyed. Blind loyalty made her reckless. She thought leaking your information was a small act of devotion, a simple favor, a way to prove herself useful, valuable, irreplaceable. But she was too blinded by her need for approval to see the trap she was walking into. Because deception always collapses under the weight of truth. Every step she took is being retraced, every action logged, every digital fingerprint examined. The investigation is exposing more than she ever imagined. This wasn't just about her betrayal, it's about the entire network she was working with. Authorities aren't stopping at her, they're pulling the whole thread. One by one, every person involved is being dragged into the light. At first, she thought they had it under control. She was confident that the family would protect her like they always had. But something is different this time. The karmic feminine, silent, the boyfriend's family, avoiding her. They're not fighting for her. They're not pulling strings. They're letting her take the fall, because now that the law is involved, they see what she couldn't. This isn't just a minor offense. This isn't something they can make disappear. It's a federal crime, a data breach, a felony with consequences they can't afford to be attached to. And so, the same people she trusted are stepping away. The protection she relied on, gone. The influence she counted on, useless. She thought she was untouchable, but now she stands alone, watching as everything she built collapses around her, not because someone came after her, but because truth always catches up. And this time, there's no way out. They say the truth will set you free, but let's be real, most people aren't ready for it. For the chosen ones in the obsidian inner order, it's not just about truth, it's the full cosmic transmission. No sugarcoating, no illusions, just raw, unfiltered awakening. Imagine this, weekly group calls with over 450 chosen ones, recorded so you can tap in anytime. Our private Discord? It's not just busy, it's electric. Ideas spark, breakthroughs happen. That chosen energy, unstoppable, and for those seeking something deeper, Enter chosen singles, where soul connections are written in the stars, not in tired pickup lines. And for the seekers of higher knowledge, unlock modern manifestation mechanics, our exclusive grimoire, with 3 powerful chapters available to members. Transform your space into a magnet for abundance, harness spellcraft for real-world manifestation, and tap into magical forces to accelerate your goals. Plus, gain access to uncensored interviews with real targeted individuals and video specials so raw, the YouTube overlords don't want you to see them. This isn't just a membership, it's a movement, so why keep searching? The path is here, the ascension is now. The link is in the description. She placed all her faith in them. They had protected her before, covered for her mistakes, pulled strings to keep her record clean. Every time she slipped up, they made it disappear. She thought this time would be no different. But it is, because this isn't some petty mistake. This isn't a small lie, a minor offense, or a family secret that can be swept under the rug. This is a federal crime. The people she trusted are backing away. At first, they told her to stay calm. "We'll handle it." She clung to those words, convinced that everything would be fine. But then the calls stopped. The reassurances faded. The silence grew louder. She started to realize, this time, she's on her own. She underestimated the power of your name. She thought leaking your information would be easy, that it would disappear into the void, unnoticed, forgotten. She didn't expect consequences. Now the same system she thought would protect her is closing in. The authorities aren't just looking at her, they're looking at everyone involved. The boyfriend's family is being scrutinized, their connections examined, their past favors uncovered. And they don't like it. They built their power on secrecy, on influence that stayed in the shadows. But now those shadows are being ripped apart. They're not just trying to protect her anymore, they're trying to protect themselves. And to do that, they have to let her go. The moment her name appeared on the investigation list, she became a liability, a loose end. They won't risk their own power for her. So one by one, they start to step away. The boyfriend, silent. The relatives who once vouched for her, gone. She calls, no one answers. She reaches out, no one responds. Panic sets in. For the first time, she feels what it's like to be truly alone. The job she relied on, at risk. The career she thought was secure, shattered. Because no company wants an employee under criminal investigation, especially for something this serious. And if the prosecution moves forward, she's looking at criminal charges. Job loss, a permanent stain on her record, a future she can't fix. She bet everything on the wrong people. She thought their power was absolute. She thought they would always protect her. But now she understands. Their power has limits. Your name does not. And no matter how much influence they have, they cannot stop what's coming. She made her choice. She betrayed you. Now she has to live with the consequences, alone, with no one left to save her. She thought she was powerful. She thought she had protection, that she could do whatever she wanted and walk away untouched, that her connections were enough to shield her. But she forgot one thing. Your name holds more weight, not just in the physical world, but in the unseen. Your name isn't just a label, it's a force, a legacy, a crown that cannot be removed, no matter how many people try to tarnish it. It carries a weight that bends reality, a force that demands respect, even in silence. As everything crumbles, around her she's starting to understand. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she could leak your information, hand over your secrets, and face no consequences. In her mind, you were just another person, another target, another obstacle to remove. She didn't realize who she was dealing with. The moment she betrayed you, the energy shifted. The same forces that had once kept her hidden, protected, and covered were now stripping her bare. Because when you move against someone with spiritual authority, there is no escaping what comes next. The world responds differently to people, like you. The weight of your name is not just built on reputation, it's built on something much deeper, something ancient, something undeniable. The very system she relied on is working against her. Every move she made is backfiring. She thought she had power, but now she's scrambling. She's watching everything slip through her fingers, realizing that the influence she once had was never really hers. It was borrowed, gifted, conditional. Now it's been revoked. She's making calls, trying to find someone who will fight for her, trying to pull the same strings that saved her in the past. But no one is answering. The same people who once stood by her are now silent. The family that used to pull her out of trouble, nowhere to be found, because they know something she never understood. They know that your name is one they should have never played with. She underestimated you. She thought you were just another person, someone she could manipulate, someone whose life she could tamper with. She didn't realize that your name carries power beyond connections. Your presence alone shifts rooms. Your name opens doors that hers never could. Your energy moves things in ways she will never understand. The very systems she trusted are turning against her. The laws she ignored, enforcing themselves. The career she thought was stable, hanging by a thread. The people she once called friends, fading into the background, distancing themselves as if they never knew her. She wanted to take your power, to humiliate you, to bring you down. But all she did was destroy herself. Because when someone moves against a chosen one, they are not just fighting a person. They are fighting divine order. And divine order does not lose. She thought she could erase you, thought she could tarnish your name, thought she could rewrite the truth. Instead, she erased herself. And this is only the beginning. She laughed when she thought she got away with it. Smug, confident, untouchable. She believed her betrayal was just another move in the game, another secret buried beneath the weight of her family's influence. She assumed no one would connect the dots. No one would ever trace it back to her. But divine justice doesn't operate on human timelines. It watches, it waits, then it strikes with precision. Everything she tried to keep hidden is surfacing. The whispers have turned into reports. The rumors have become official investigations. Digital footprints she thought were erased. They're being pulled up, examined, and followed straight to her. Her name is no longer protected. It sits on lists she never imagined. Criminal records, legal documents, internal investigations. She can't control the outcome. The moment she handed over your information, she sealed her fate. What she assumed was a harmless favor has snowballed into something much bigger than she can handle. Every single person involved is being exposed. This isn't just her downfall, it's an unraveling of everything built on deception. Authorities aren't stopping at the surface. They're digging deep, tracing connections, mapping out every manipulation, uncovering just how far this betrayal extends. What began as a single act of disloyalty has triggered an avalanche. The karmic feminine who orchestrated all of this is witnessing her entire plan collapse. She thought she was playing chess, moving people like pieces, setting traps no one would see coming. But divine order had already positioned its pieces long before she even touched the board. She's losing everything. Desperation sets in. She scrambles to shift blame, throwing anyone under the bus just to save herself. She pleads, bargains, looks for a way out. There is no escape. What they tried to do to you is happening to them. The same systems they once relied on are now working against them. The same people they manipulated are backing away. The same energy they sent out is returning, multiplied. This is balance restoring itself. You didn't have to seek revenge. You didn't chase justice. You didn't step outside your power because you didn't need to. Divine order is delivering the lesson they never thought they'd have to learn. The chosen ones are not so easily undone. The world she built is collapsing. She thought she was secure, protected by the power of those around her. She believed she could play a dangerous game and walk away unscathed, that her betrayal would be forgotten, buried under the weight of her connections. But life doesn't work that way. Consequences don't wait forever. Her job, the one she took for granted, the one that made her feel important, is slipping through her fingers. Investigations have begun. Questions are being asked. Employers don't want to be tied to a scandal, and they definitely don't want an employee whose name is now appearing in legal documents. She's become a liability. Meetings are happening behind closed doors. Decisions are being made without her. Emails go unanswered, calls ignored. The people she once laughed with at work are now whispering about her in hallways. They're all waiting for the inevitable, her termination, and when it happens, she'll have no one to blame but herself. But losing her job is just the beginning. The family she once depended on is stepping away. They see the storm approaching, and they won't let themselves be caught in the wreckage. They've spent years protecting their reputation, building influence, and making sure their name stays clean. She's now a stain on that name, and stains are removed quickly. One by one they distance themselves, the same people who vouched for her, who cleaned up her messes, who assured her they would always have her back, silent, because when it comes down to it, self-preservation always wins. The boyfriend she sacrificed everything for, nowhere to be found. The people she called friends, vanishing. She stood on the wrong side of this fight. And now, the truth is out. She used to be the one whispering in rooms, planting lies, manipulating situations. She thought she was untouchable, that she could control the narrative. But now, she's the subject of those whispers. Her name is being spoken in hushed tones. People are dissecting her past, exposing her actions, tearing apart the web of deception she thought was impenetrable. This isn't just karma, this is justice-making. Sure, she understands exactly what she did. She thought she could violate your privacy and never face consequences. Thought she could betray you and walk away unscathed. Thought she could steal from you your information, your peace, your dignity, without losing anything herself. She was wrong. She's losing everything, not because you fought back, not because you sought revenge, but because energy always returns to its sender. She will regret every move she made against you. She will regret thinking you were weak. She will regret assuming her power was greater than yours. And she will never forget the day she learned this lesson, the hard way. This is why you must be careful about who you allow into your energy. They thought they could move against you and walk away untouched. They believed their influence, their connections and their schemes would shield them from consequences. They assumed they had the power to rewrite the truth, to manipulate reality, to erase what was never theirs to touch. But they underestimated who you are. Your name is not just a name, it carries weight, spiritually, energetically, and even in the physical world. What they tried to use against you has become the very thing destroying them. The same forces they trusted to protect them have turned against them. They should have never played with your name, because in the end, deception never wins, manipulation always backfires, and divine justice never misses its mark. Stay in your light, chosen ones. The battle is already won.